Hello guys, my name is Pink Impulse and welcome back to the space station. Let's jump right in because we have a lot to talk about. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about today are world bosses. The first time I was actually able to play Diablo IV was at BlizzCon in 2019. I was absolutely floored by how amazing the game felt. I stood in line for about 3 times to play the game over and over again, playing the Sorceress once and the Druid 2 times. But during one of the sessions, there was a world boss encounter and I was clearly hyped to drop this thing. And I realized that I was severely mistaken. Even after learning my own character in the beta, there were times where I failed to kill Ashava. That brings me to my next point. I'm very excited to see more world bosses as the game progresses through. I'm hoping that the world bosses not only get harder, but also have many different mechanics throughout each step of the fight, just like this one did. I would also love to see melee and range characters have different strengths and weaknesses against specific world bosses. In my opinion, I had an easier time being upfront with the Druid over being a rogue and in the back. It just felt different and a lot easier with the Druid. I would also eventually love to see more of achievements when you kill a world boss. But that's a very small thing and just my opinion on it. So I want to see new mechanics, range versus melee differences, difficulties, and the items that they also drop. Moving on to a similar note to my next topic are act bosses. Act bosses so far have deemed to be a treat, and I hope it stays this way throughout the game. Yes, some of them quite simple, and others had different mechanics, like getting into a bubble, or killing random succubi to progress through the next boss. But this also brings up another topic just like the world boss. Melee versus range. I didn't play a barbarian personally, but I know for a fact that many people who did play a barbarian or a druid, unlike myself, found themselves struggling. I'm curious how the balance changes eventually are going to essentially help the barbarian. I'm also curious if the melee classes will eventually have more of an upper hand as it gets to the later stages of the game. I really have no clue what you can really do because you also don't want something to be completely overpowered, but I am genuinely curious to see what happens. And as for act bosses, I firmly believe that we will see more interesting act bosses throughout the game. And as of April 5th, the Diablo dev team have released a video talking about some endgame things, the first one being the Paragon Updates. They showed us that you can now choose the direction of your character more precisely. If you want to go more strength or intelligence, you can do that, as well as buffing specific skills that you want. You can also rotate the board to start from a different direction to have it more suitable for the playstyle that you are actually wanting to play. And on to the next thing, that is the Codex of Power. In the video, the Diablo dev team told us that after every single dungeon, you will be getting a new aspect which goes into your Codex of Power, and from there, you can equip them on different items to make your build more suitable for you. So again, it goes back to whatever you want to do in this game, that's the build you can go with. As long as it all meshes, go for it. Enjoy it. If you have played the beta, you know that they have dungeons in Diablo IV, but the Diablo team have announced Nightmarish Dungeons. But these dungeons are a bit different. They have a different playstyle and intensity from the previous dungeons. They are going to be a lot more difficult, and they have different types of dungeons. One of them being the Hellgate, which is a red nightmarish portal that appears and has monsters coming out of it. So as you're fighting other monsters, this Hellgate can open, and now you have to fight more monsters. So we know that there are over 100 dungeons in Diablo IV, and according to them, any dungeon can become a nightmarish dungeon, which makes the game a lot more exciting and makes the players want to grind it out a bit more. It makes the end game a lot more fun. The end game has certain places called Helltide areas, where you have a better chance to open caches where the gameplay seems darker and harder. So visually, you are noticing that there are differences in these Helltide areas. They've also talked about things falling from the sky and just looking a lot more different. In this picture, you can see that there is something called the Tree of Whispers, where when you do the bounties and then complete them, you get to choose your reward out of the collection that it offers you, which is a great incentive to just do more of these bounties and go toward these Helltide areas. It's really intriguing, and the game really just gets better and better. And moving on to my favorite final point, PvP is here. Going into the Fields of Hatred, it's a place where you can essentially just fight other players. The cool thing about it is that there is incentive to it. So when you actually kill a player, they will drop these shards, and you will collect these shards. But the thing is that as you're running to base to purify these shards so you can use them to get better items, people also have the chance to kill you and get more items. I love it. I can't wait for this. Be sure to subscribe. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.